Welcome to Inside Sim Racing. I'm Shaun Cole with my good buddy today, Darren Ganji.
Hey everybody.
And we're here for our second arcade special, which means right off the bat, I need to warn everybody. All of you hardcore sim racers, the ones who only care about realism, about physics, about hardcore racing, you guys tune out right now.
That's right.
Because today's show is all about arcade games, arcade racer style games.
And if you want to know what our definition of arcade racing is, or a racing game, if it's all about crashing, if you can't use a wheel and pedal set, or if it's not recommended, and it prefers a gamepad over a wheel, then you're probably playing an arcade racer or a racing game. If you're not looking through the cockpit, racing game or arcade racer.
I agree with you there. So today we're actually going to look at 3 of these type of arcade racers. 2 of them are actually free-to-play games. The 3 titles we're going to look at today are F1 Online The Game by Codemasters. We've got Dirt Showdown, and then we also have...
Also by Codemasters.
Yes, and then we have Need for Speed World by EA.
That's right. And 2 of these, some of you may recall, have already been on the show. Need for Speed World is a MMO style racer, and Shaun caught up with them. He was invited to they were doing an update or show some updates to the title, the developers, and Shaun got to interview with them, sit in a live room, and actually you got to kick all their butts too.
Got to race them, yeah.
And then Codemasters with Dirt Showdown, and we've got a couple copies actually for the PC. Shaun and I got to go head to head on that against each other, and a PS3 version. And then also we have F1 Online The Game, which we mentioned, browser-based game where you're basically managing an F1 team.
Yeah. Or
your F1 team that you create. And it's, like I said, all browser-based, free, and by Codemasters.
And that's where we're going to start things off today with F1 Online The Game. And it actually emulates the 2011 FIA World Championship season, so you've got the cars, the teams, and the tracks from that.
You can race online against other opponents and try to climb the leaderboards. You can also run time trials or a full championship, which you have to actually work your way up to get to that full championship or run it. And you're the team boss, and you can design a livery, choose your car upgrades, and build your own headquarters to lead your team.
And besides all the real circuits, you also have some fantasy tracks in there, so it kind of goes beyond just the World Championship.
Yep.
You start by making your team and personalizing your own team emblem. You adjust the colors and the liveries of your cars. You develop your team's headquarters by building and expanding your base of operations, and then you can research new car components and upgrade your car to improve its performance on the track.
And yes, it's free, like we mentioned, but you can buy what's called Codemasters points, and you can enhance the game further, but it's honestly not required to get pretty much everything out of it. It just kind of allows you to speed things up, or you can buy different liveries or colors, but as far as the base of the game, or even on the F1 side of things, you can unlock that portion. And really quick, because it might be a little misleading what we said, there's kind of 2 portions of the game. The whole F1 2011 season, where you honestly click this little button up here where it says Formula 1. And have you done that yet, by the way?
No, I've only run on the...
Which is, because that's so much fun.
Yeah, the regular progression.
Yeah, where you can, without purchasing anything, you can pick any 3 teams and then just go run some races. And like I ran with the Sauber team, and I think I have some footage of it, at Catalunya, and there were 6 guys out there, and I got spanked. But
you have to level up before that even opens up.
Level 3 before you can unlock that Formula 1. So that's another whole aspect of the game. If you want to just run the Formula 1 guys with your favorite drivers and stuff like that, you can pay to unlock all those cars and stuff like that. But honestly, I have more fun on this. It's kind of an MMO.
Yeah.
Where it's SimCity meets F1 world.
Sure. To get things going, if you don't have one yet, you just sign up for a Codemasters RaceNet account, which I actually already had one from Dirt, so that was easy to go. And then once you have that account, you just kind of hit play, and it's a web browser game like we've said, so it just automatically happens. You don't have to install anything. You're just up and running.
Yeah, it automatically installs right there in your browser. I was using Google Chrome. I think you started in Firefox.
Yeah, and it worked fine.
I don't even know what we have up running here. Actually, and you can go full screen too.
Yeah.
So once you get it full screen, it doesn't even look like a browser-based game anymore.
Not at all.
Really.
And it does still say beta on it, though.
Yep.
So this is still work being done, work in progress to an extent.
Yep, I would guess they're still doing things to it. I would imagine too, it's kind of a seamless thing because every time you load new things, it says downloading. So
right.
I'm sure they're making updates all the time, or they can. And things start off by bringing you to a welcome screen where you have the option to either skip test drive or select your favorite team. And there you can click on this little eye and check out the car in 3D if you like, which is kind of takes it out of a browser-based game there too.
You start out at Yaz Marina and it kind of takes you through a tutorial, and you have to drive through the circles, keep your pace up, get through the corners, learn your braking zones, and some little on-the-fly tutorial.
Yep, and it's a top-down Command and Conquer style. There's a bunch of different games that have been like, what's that perspective called?
Overhead view.
Yeah. Or helicopter view. It's been done a bunch of different ways. It's kind of like the racing portion kind of reminds me of a super sprint meets modern F1.
Right.
You know, and so after a few tests, they then get you going through some corners, and it teaches you how to use curves by pressing the space bar. And then they train you how to use the DRS by using the D key.
And it's pretty simple. I mean, after you've learned all these controls, and we haven't even touched upon the controls, you're just using your mouse. Your left button is your gas, your right button is your brake, and you just kind of lead the car. It has an arrow, and you can control where that arrow is by where you put your mouse cursor, and that's kind of leading the car. Like if you want to turn right, you kind of put the cursor over there. It's actually really genius and easy to use.
Yeah, it is.
But from that point, you kind of just get going on your F1 management career.
And once you get started, you have guys, team members that come and help you along the way. You really need to just start driving is the best thing. Go to the quick races once you've got your team developed. But there's an objectives button, and I didn't really find it until later on. The objectives button tells you what you need to do to advance. So you really got to follow those objectives. Some are just do some time trials at some certain tracks.
Right.
And then you get extra points for that.
And it kind of gives you an idea. There's actually a lot to do in this game. I mean, we could do an entire 30-minute show showing you all the different ways of upgrading and developing parts and things. But since it's a PC free game, I think we're kind of giving you all an opportunity to go explore it yourselves.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're going to give you all the pros and cons, and we're going to put it on the rev scale. Just in case you don't want to bother messing with it and trying to figure it out yourself. I mean, we'll give you the gist. But again, this is a free title. Sign up for RaceNet and go check it out yourself. So let's start with the cons. A little bit framey, I guess is the best way to put it. Some frame rate issues, not bad, and you can definitely get used to it. And I mean, you're not driving from the cockpit, so it's not that big a deal. But yeah, you just kind of got to get used to it, And there's lots of adjustments you can make as far as resolution and realism settings as far as graphics go. So that's.
Also, when you consider this is a web browser-based game, this is a lot more sophisticated looking than most games I've played in a browser. So that might have something to do with it.
Yep.
And the next con is that you actually have to purchase extra points. So, and do you have to? I'm not sure. But if you want to, it's an easier way to progress your career. And you're looking at $5 for 1,000 points, but you did that and it didn't help you a whole lot.
No, I didn't really find that great a use for it. I mean,
Yeah.
you can buy extra liveries, but it's like, okay, what am I going to spend this 1,000
It's for the
points on?
impatient.
It
It would be
is,
nice though, a $15 option to just be able to buy everything.
Yeah.
Instead of doing so many points,
Unlock,
it's like
full unlock the game.
Yeah, lifetime code.
Well, like a Trials.
Yeah.
Where they have the
Yeah.
DLC. Where this honestly would be a great, game for that side of the PS3 and the Xbox 360.
Yeah, definitely.
Next con is you can only play with the keyboard and mouse. I would have liked to have seen gamepad support. Maybe they have it built in. I don't know, but I'd like to just plug in a gamepad and be able to play. That would have definitely made things a lot easier.
Yeah.
And I think that about wraps it up for the cons.
Yeah, not a
weren't
lot
many.
of bad things about it when it's free.
Yeah.
And now for the pros, and I just said it, it's free. So, I mean, it's free. What more can you say about it?
Yep. Next, it's great to play wherever. If you have a laptop, you can play it on the go, wherever you want, as long as you have an internet connection. So that's cool.
Yeah. Another thing I like about it is the whole management aspect. So instead of just being a racing game, you got the whole progressing your career and building things.
Yep. And the next pro, fields fill up pretty quickly, you know, especially in European-friendly time zones. In the morning here in the U.S. or early afternoon, I'm seeing fields fill up to 22. I ran one about 2-3 hours ago, and it was about noon here our time, and I got in a 22-car field.
That's
and it was
cool.
a lot of fun. So that's definitely a pro.
It's competitive and it's fun once you get the hang of it. Like the whole steering thing took me a little while to get the hang of it, but once you do, it's fun and you get in some really good races.
Slow down is one of the biggest tips we can give you.
Yeah.
Don't just go flat out, because a lot of corners you can go flat out once you get the hang of it, but just slow down and get the hang of it and do time trials.
Yeah.
You know, get used to those tracks, because that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
If you're looking for something to pass time as a pro, you can look at it either way, as a pro or a con. If you're looking for something quick and you just, no. Because some things you have to wait like an hour for it to build, which I thought was kind of cool. That's where buying points, you could put overtime into something and they'll bust it out for you quick. But I liked having to wait an hour. I would get something going in the background and then go do something else. So it could be time consuming, and it's like a SimCity based building on the headquarters. Our Internet Explorer stopped working. So yeah, it's definitely, you know, can take up time.
And everything you said there takes me to probably the last pro for us, and that's that this is the kind of game that you do while passing the time. Like watching a baseball game, or the Olympics are on right now. It's like watch it on one eye, play on the other, wait on that build process for an hour. It all works together with that kind of dual purpose, multitasking.
I agree. I've been doing it. So, and that's gonna wrap up the pros and cons and lead us to the rev scale. And Shaun, why don't you do the honors?
Rev scale on this, I mean, there's not a lot of sophistication to it, but it is free. Our pros list is gigantic, but it's not like comparing it to iRacing, and that puts us at an 8 on the rev scale.
All right, and in closing, this game is a lot of fun. I really had a lot of fun, and it's addicting, and it's challenging too. And if you get off track, car gets loose, and you got to get off the throttle and save it. So physics, it's got some decent physics, it seems, built in there. And I would categorize it as a SimCity meets Super Sprint meets modern F1, and I personally enjoyed the heck out of it.
Yeah, well said. For me, this game, it's not so much a sim racing game as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, but this is more of a strategy game. Sure, I do race with the keyboard and mouse, but that whole building process, the headquarters aspect to me, it kind of, like you said, it's like a Sim City. And this is a game that touches me more like playing that or even a solitaire. And these are the kind of games I just pass time with, but it still hits me on that automotive level, and that is the core of me. So I had a lot of fun playing it as well.
All right, so if you're interested in checking it out, go to F1 Online The Game and again.com, and again, get your RaceNet account and get started. My account name is Darren SRT. I don't know if you can find, I couldn't add friends on RaceNet. I don't know. Codemasters, you got a little bug there. I couldn't add a friend. So Darren SRT, Shaun SRT on online there. So that's going to wrap up actually the first half of the show. When we come back, we're going to have Dirt Showdown and another look at Need for Speed World.
Tamiya's extensive lineup of radio-controlled vehicles provides hobbyists with the joy of running exact replicas of their favorite car, tank, or off-road vehicle. Another attraction of these vehicles is their use of high-grade materials, such as nylon resin, carbon fiber, and polycarbonate. With precise mechanical systems, the maintenance and adjustment of the various components, as well as performance upgrading with optional parts, allows for truly competitive racing. For more information about Tamiya, visit us at www.tamiyausa.com.
All right, welcome back to the second half of the show, and we're going to cover both the other games now, Need for Speed World and Dirt Showdown, and first up, Need for Speed World. And before we get to what you did with these guys, a little bit about the title. It's a free-to-play, like Shaun said, massively multiplayer online, which means MMO, or stands for MMO. And it's an open-world racing game developed by Quicklime as part of EA's world-class play-for-free portfolio. Need for Speed World sets players loose behind the wheel of stunning licensed cars in the busy streets of the most recognizable franchise locations, from Need for Speed Carbon and the original Need for Speed Most Wanted. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's sort of, they talked about it, but sort of a combination of those two is really their main inspiration.
Pretty cool. Obviously, I'm reading for something, and I'm going to be honest, I think I said this last time we covered this title. I have yet to turn 1 mile of driving on Need for Speed World. I was busy playing F1 Online, the game, and I got Shaun into it yesterday. I'm like, dude, you got to check this out. It's pretty fun. So Shaun was big in the Need for Speed World. So anyway, combining best-in-class action racing with an unparalleled social experience for PC players, Need for Speed World offers fans an intense and limitless driving experience for free. Now, needless to say, that was what I was reading from the Need for Speed box cover.
That is not untrue, though.
Which doesn't really exist. Really?
Yeah.
So, Shaun, now you got to hang out with the developers, hang out online.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I overheard during that piece, or while you were doing that, was 16 point something million people have
registered.
16, that's amazing.
Yeah.
What was the number?
16.7 million people. And, you know, it's free. So if it's free, you're going to draw a big crowd. And I think the main thing is keeping that crowd or taking advantage of those numbers.
Yep, I agree. So, free to play, but it's not really free to play.
It is free to play. You can download the game, you can get a car and start your career. You can have access to 100 miles of driving.
But let me ask you this, compared to the first free to play game, do you get as much out of it without having to buy something?
No. It is free to play, and you can play a very long time on that level of it. But if you really want to get the most out of this game, which could mean just the variety of cars, and there are great cars in it, it's going to cost you some money.
So we talked about you racing against these guys. And you were running with a wheel.
Yeah.
You were running with a G27, I think?
Yeah.
There's a list of compatible wheels, but no force feedback.
It's a small list of wheels, and there's no force feedback, and there's no mapping your controls. So, yes, I was using a G27, but I couldn't use, like, my shifter.
Now, you asked them why there's not support for the wheel.
Yeah.
And what was their answer?
Okay, so, 16.7 million registered users. They look at the data. And the bottom line is very few people are actually using wheels to play Need for Speed Online.
Most people were using what? Keyboard and mouse?
Keyboard and mouse. So since that is really where the basis of the player is, and that's exactly why this is on the arcade game, I think this would have been with more support like the other Need for Speed titles, we'd be probably talking about it in a different light.
Again, Shaun, you met with the developers, or met online with them. What were their names?
Melvin Teo and Mark DeVellis.
Okay. And so what was the purpose of this meeting? What new has come in Need for Speed World since we kind of beat it up.
We did. 2 years ago is when it came out, and we did beat it up because there wasn't a whole lot going on to it. And I don't think, here we are 2 years later, and the point of this whole thing, I don't think there was a revolutionary step in the game overnight, let's say. However, it was their 2-year anniversary, and the game has been evolving. So there have been some things that have been enhanced, some structure that has been changed, things that have gotten a little bit better, and I think that was the reason why they're kind of just having a little gathering to let people kind of know about it again, being the 2-year anniversary.
Cool. Yeah, actually, I'm kind of surprised. I mean, based on what we originally thought, I'm surprised that it continued, but 16.7 million players says that, or people registered says that obviously they did something right.
Yeah.
And there's people, it's just like what we got out of F1 Online, the game. Some people may not want to, like we talked to John Hill, and John's like, why would I want to play that?
Right.
But Shaun and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And some people may enjoy Need for Speed World, maybe the open world aspect of it, and being able to.
And for a lot of people, they talked about the guys and what people are using the game most for, and there's a lot of customization. So, for example, if you're a big fan of a Mustang, you can buy a really nice Mustang and really trick it out. Now, you're gonna have to spend some money doing it, and you pay for this boost. That's how the currency, and you're gonna need to spend some money to make to get a cool car, and then you're gonna have to spend some money to make it trick. You could race and just kind of randomly build up some credits and do some stuff, but it's not gonna be as fun. Like you talked about on F1 Online, where if you didn't buy the credits, you could just kind of pay your time. I don't think it's gonna work out as fun on Need for Speed without breaking out.
You can get your butt kicked.
Yeah, and your car's gonna look cool, or cooler if you get some credits.
Now, you ran some races against these guys online, and you pretty much whooped their butts.
I beat everybody twice.
Yeah, and one of the really funny aspects of that story is that after each race, they're all talking about boost. You're using turbo boost.
Yeah, and the power-ups, all the power-ups.
Yeah, power-ups. And so they're going, and Shaun won. Shaun, why didn't you use it in the first race? Shaun, why didn't you use any of your power boost? And Shaun's like, well, I didn't know how.
Yeah.
And he didn't know how they were mapped on his controller.
I pressed every button on my controller. It's not mapped. So without a keyboard, that kind of shows you the controller support right there, though.
So then they ran a second race, and Shaun beat him up again, and they're going through all the people. Oh, so-and-so you use 5 boosts or power-ups or whatever, and so-and-so you use, and Shaun, you didn't use any power-ups again.
Still don't know how.
And he still beat everybody. So anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. So anyway, are we going to change the rev scale score at all? Anything else to talk about?
No, you know what? Again, this is a free game. I'm going to encourage everybody, if you have a PC, it's worth a download. The free car is reasonable.
And now, is it browser-based, or does it actually boot up a game?
It boots up a game, and once you get there, the open world is kind of cool. I'm going to admit that. The graphics are really cool, and you get out there, and there's just some dude driving along, and it's like, what's he doing? I don't know. And then you'll see like 2 dudes just kind of like running into each other, and nobody really knows what they're doing at that moment in time. You can, like me, kind of a newbie out there. And then you got from that all the way to guys who are using it like a cruising environment, tricking out their cars, kind of going down the streets together, a bunch of neon maybe, and a kind of line of 20 cars. Yeah, exactly. So I think there's a lot of different uses for different people depending on what they like. And the point again, it's free. Get in there, find out what it costs you to get what you want out of the game, and decide if it's for you, I guess. Rev scale, leave it the same. Maybe a little bit higher. It's come along, but no need to change it.
7 or so?
Okay, we'll give it a 7.
And one last question. Do you know how many people can go online at one time?
I don't know. The racing environments are down to 8 people. So when you're in that open world and you do select a race, it's going to be against 7 other people. However, it seemed kind of, I don't know. There's a lot of people, a lot more than 8. I mean, there's a lot of people online, different names everywhere.
Do you log into different servers, or is it just one thing?
I think it's just one server.
It's like on Auto Club Revolution, there's different servers you log in.
Right. I'm glad you brought up Auto Club Revolution. That's a very comparable title, and I think you can get more cars at Auto Club Revolution, but was it they had some free cars, and then the tracks were all free?
Tracks are all free.
But this game, the Need for Speed, has a lot more ability to kind of work on your car and build your garage up.
Tuning?
And that's kind of one difference between the two, but I think they're very similar games for different crowds.
Interesting. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for Need for Speed World. World.needforspeed.com. I'm sure if you go to needforspeed.com, you can go, there's a world link there.
There's also, they have a Facebook page, NFS World Free Boost. And I saw a code there where you could download some boosts. So I think that if you're savvy and kind of pay attention, you can get a little boost here and there and do some tricks, get some deals. The way they sell things is kind of weird, but every once in a while they have specials. So
there you have it, Need for Speed World. Next up, Dirt Showdown, and we've had it on the show a couple times already. Shaun interviewed the developers, or one of the developers at Ian Smith, associate producer, excuse me. Back in February, so this title's getting some legs here on the show.
Yeah.
And that show got hammered by dislikes, by the way. Our arcade show didn't get that hammered because I think we made the disclaimer that this is arcade. And so yeah, that's where we're at, Shaun.
So for those of you who were hoping for Dirt 4, this is far from it. I mean, we're talking no cockpit views, no manual transmission. I mean, this game, it's all about destruction.
Turbo boost,
or hooning, and it's definitely the gaming side of things.
Yep. And if you don't want to hear about that stuff, actually, you probably wouldn't get to this part of the show anyway, because that's all we've been talking about. This one you can actually use the wheel and pedals on, and it works pretty good.
Yeah.
We've got 2 versions for the PC, and runs in triple screens, looks awesome. Graphics are incredible. And a version for the PS3, which we got in the background here. And it goes for about $50, and by Codemasters. And it's available for the PS3, PC, and the Xbox 360. And we have 2 copies for the PC, triple screen compatible, works great, looks great, graphics look incredible. And we have a copy for the PS3 here as well. So.
Yeah, and for those of you who were hoping that this was going to be like the hardcore direction of Dirt 4 maybe, well, the good news is that probably will happen someday. But this is definitely the gaming version of it, not that hardcore extreme version.
Yeah, and the good news about that too is that the hardcore version is probably going to be more hardcore. At least that opens the door for it to be like that.
Yeah.
So, as you guys know, we love these diversion titles, and I think the way we ended the last one was, we only had the beta version, and it only could go to, up to the first 6 levels or something. We were saying, okay, let's see how much we're going to keep wanting to play this.
Right.
So that's where we're at now. We're not going to go into the details. You guys know pretty much about this. It's been out long enough. So we're just going to give you some pros, cons, and rev scale it, because we haven't put it on the scoring system yet. And also one other thing, it's compatible with pretty much all the wheels and pedals. We tried it with all of them, Fanatic, Thrustmaster, Logitech. So all of them work with the game on all the different systems. But we were running mainly with the T500, and man, that's got a lot of force feedback coming through it.
Definitely.
So let's get to the pros and cons, starting with the pros.
Well, the first thing about this game is this is just easy to get into. I mean, there's not a big learning curve. There's not a lot of controllers to set up. It's just kind of plug and play as far as the game goes.
Yep.
Another thing, this actually makes it a great party game, because I don't care what you know about racing or what you know about sim racing, you're going to be able to get in and play it, and more importantly, have fun doing it.
Yep, and speaking of having fun, next pro is the dirt physics, which are pretty dang good. I mean, they're not Richard Burns rally quality, but as far as the dirt handling, they've done a great job, but they've toned them down a little bit, so they're even more accessible, and probably even easier for gamepad drivers. We didn't try it with the gamepad, but that's a pro. Lots of laughing.
Yeah.
Even whether I was playing by myself or you and I were trying to ram each other off the track, we were laughing our asses off. So we definitely had a lot of fun with it.
Definitely. Another thing about this game is it has great graphics. So, I mean, this is right in line with the entire Dirt series, and it's something they've excelled at. And this one's even got more flashing and banging going on, but great graphics. And the last thing is the force feedback. I mean, they basically took everything we know from Dirt 3 and brought it over and gave you the gaming side, but everything in the wheel feels the same. I mean, it drives like a sim through the wheel, at least.
Yep, I agree. And now that leads us to the cons, which is the first one. If you're looking for Dirt 4, which really isn't a con to this game, but if you're a con to being a sim racer, if you were looking for Dirt 4, this isn't it. So that's definitely a con. And it gets a little repetitive.
Yeah.
You know, the question that we were asking ourselves was, are we going to want to keep playing this?
Right.
And the question was, it got a little repetitive. So
yeah.
No, I didn't finish it. So there's 2 cons.
If it was my only game, I'd have finished it in a minute, for sure though, that's for sure.
Yep.
One other con is the multiplayer is based on 8-player game mode. So it'd be so much fun to play this with more people. And then the last con is that when you're in multiplayer, there's no added AI. So you actually could be running just against 2 or 3 people, and that could minimize the amount of fun that could be had.
Yep. So that brings us to our rev scale and then the final thoughts. And rev scale, I'll do this one. We're going to give this one an 8. Same thing we gave F1 the game. And, you know, Shaun brought up a good point, and I'm going to steal it from you. I'm going to steal your thunder here a little bit. If this was just a pure gaming review site, or we were looking at it as pure game, we probably would have scored a little bit higher. But us being the the hardcore sim guys, even though this is a pure arcade game, that's just I mean, it's not too much different than what we've already seen in the Dirt series, except for that you're just doing all this destruction and hooning and stuff.
Yeah.
So it wasn't enough to just really keep me going. And my last final thought too, because I was pretty much my final thoughts, but if I'm going to sit down at my rig and play something, it's going to be iRacing, R-Factor 2, game stock car, something like that, to where I'm going to take advantage of that beast.
Yeah.
Versus I can probably pull a controller and start playing this.
Yeah, that's kind of overkill for this game. Thing for me on this game, from the very get-go, we questioned the longevity of the title. We both kind of established it was hard to suck us into the point of finishing. However, you and I played head-to-head, and I haven't heard us laugh like little kids like that over many games we have played. So most things we take so seriously, and this one just did have us laughing and screaming at each other. And whether you have a group of friends over on a Friday night or you're just playing something for fun, it's got a lot going on in it, and it can definitely offer that.
I agree. One thing I want to add to that too is we were playing online by ourselves. We were the only two in the room, and we were in one of the Destruction Derby ones, and we're just like chasing each other in circles, almost like cat and mouse, and it was just, and we would finally run into each other, but it was just fun doing that. So that's going to wrap up our coverage of 3 more arcade racing titles. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you didn't, we apologize. Please don't beat us up too bad, but we enjoy playing these games. Honestly, all 3 of these, we got enjoyment out of them in some way or another, even Need for Speed World, which we beat up in the past. I loved F1 the game. I'm going to play it a bunch more. Dirt Showdown, I think I'm done with, to be honest.
Yeah, but like you mentioned, if we had people come over, like if your dad came over, your brother came over, it's the kind of thing you put anybody in. It's that quick learning curve. It's a lot of fun. Anybody's going to start laughing, and that's good in gaming, especially if you're trying to show off sim racing. So, I mean, gosh, I'd even put my mom in Dirt Showdown.
Well, you brought up a great point. We had a little gathering over here on Father's Day, and I had my brother and my dad and my daughter's boyfriend over here. I had 3 rigs set up. I had this one, the big one here. Anyway, had them over, and my brother and Anthony, my daughter's boyfriend, gravitated to Showdown.
Right.
And they kept going back, try this, dude, try that, try this. At the end of the day, Anthony says to me, hey, you know where I can get a copy of this game? I really liked it a lot, because he has a PlayStation 3, so Anthony loved it, and he was a pretty good driver. Damon, my brother, he's an old-time sim racer, and I was expecting him to jump into iRacing or want to do something hardcore. He only wanted to play Dirt Showdown. Now, my dad wanted nothing to do with this. My dad's old schooler. He sat down and started kicking some butt at iRacing.
Yeah.
So actually, we're trying to get my dad back into racing, but into sim. My dad's an old school sim racer too. Him and my brother both did. So anyway, getting off track here. Hope you've enjoyed this arcade racer. Anything else from you, Shaun, before we go?
No, just that, this is part of sim racing. I mean, maybe it's the gaming side, but this is what automotive gaming is all about.
Yep, well put. For Shaun Cole, I'm Darren Ganji. Make sure you visit our forums, facebook.com, also facebook.com/Inside Sim Racing, and visit our forums at insidesimracing.tv/forums. We also have an arcade section at our site now you can check out. We have all of our arcade coverage in there. So that's going to do it. We'll see you guys next time.